What's going on, you guys? It's Melanie here. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm gonna do a story time, and I'm gonna tell you guys a time that I was being harassed online by this special needs individual. And yeah, I'm gonna tell you guys that it was pretty hectic, and this happened around my second semester in junior year of high school, so between January through March 2017. But yeah, that semester has been hectic towards me because I've been harassed by this guy who has special needs. And even though this guy has special needs, doesn't give him an excuse to harass people like that. But anyways, so you guys know that I have Instagram back in 2017, and well, I'm no longer using it right now, but in around December 2016, I'm not gonna say his name, but I'm gonna call him Todd. So yeah, I was scrolling down on Instagram and I got a friend request from Todd, who has some mutual friends with me on my follower list. So even though I don't know this guy, for some reason I decided to follow him back because I just wanted to make new friends and everything. But yeah, I followed him back, and then this Todd guy decided to message me, say hi, how are you? And I said, I'm good, how about you? And Todd and I had some friendly conversations and everything because I just wanted to reply and try to make new friends just to be nice and everything. And then that day we talked a lot, and then somehow around 9 p.m. I decided to put my phone down and go to sleep. And then later when I woke up in the middle of the night around 2 a.m., I checked up my Instagram and I got a missed message from Todd, and he said, are you asleep, around 1:30 a.m. I didn't reply to that, but I find that a little creepy looking back because I don't know who this guy is, and I don't know why he's asking me that. But and then we've been talking about with each other the next few days, and then one day we've been talking a lot in this day, and then he messaged me last and said okay, Melanie, I'm gonna go to bed right now, and I just want to say that last night I was laying in bed, I've been thinking about you and blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh, okay. For me, that time, I didn't think it was a big deal because I thought maybe he's saying that because he likes having me as a friend, not something romantic. And then things got weirder when, I've been posting photos of me on Instagram and on Facebook because I'm also friends with him on Facebook. And then he's been commenting emojis oh my god, that's beautiful, with a kissing emoji. And for some reason I didn't think that was a big deal because again, I thought he's just doing that to be friendly. And then one day he posted a status saying that he's in a relationship with me, and I was tagged on that post. I'm like, what is this? And then I tried untagging myself from that post, but then somehow he kept trying to tag me back on that relationship status, saying that I'm his girlfriend, which is so fucking weird. And I thought that that was just a mistake. And then later, one of his female friends commented on his post and said, are you and Melanie in a relationship? And then he replied, yes. And I'm like, what is going on? And then I DM'd him and said, hi, I saw your post, why are you posting this and whatever. And then he responded and said something well, I thought that you and I connected so well, and that's why I thought that you and I should be boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. And then I just said, dude, I barely even know you, we didn't even talk a lot, honestly. What I meant by that is that yes, we did talk a lot online, but at the same time, I never met this guy in person, so that's another issue. And that I never went to school with him at all, and I never seen this guy face to face in person, so that's some issues I'm having. So luckily he apologized and took down that post. And then after that happened, I started to get slowly uncomfortable of him because I felt now looking back, like when he commented those like kissing emojis on my post and then like and everything, and then tagging me on that relationship status post saying that I'm in a relationship with him, I started to get weird vibes over there. And then until one day he decided to like send me a message just to say hi, how are you doing? And then I ignored his messages just because I wasn't interested. And then later he tried messaging again and said, what are you doing? And then I like ignored his message again. And then later, few minutes later, he responded, Melanie, are you okay, with a crying emoji. I got really annoyed, and then I replied like, hey man, you've been bothering me too much, and I felt like I needed some space and everything, and this is too much for me right now. And then he apologized and said, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. It sounds like I've been bothering you too much, which is kind of true. And yeah, he cut it off over there. And so the next day, he sent me a message on Instagram saying like, hi Melanie, so yeah, feel free to message me whatever you want, I'll wait. And then I got uncomfortable over there, so I decided to block him, because I felt like he's kind of pressuring me and everything and expecting me to respond to him, which I wouldn't. So yeah, I just blocked him because I feel like some of his behavior is getting like weirder for me, maybe not for others. So yeah, this happened between like December 2016 through January 2017. But yeah, that's kind of it. And then yeah, the whole thing is super weird, honestly, because yeah, I just blocked him. And like around like February 2017, I've been getting like message requests from him from different accounts where he tried to like send me a message saying that he was sorry for what he did. But I decided to just block that account and try to move on, because I felt that he wasn't my type, and that I don't know who this person is, and I don't know why he wants to come after me like that. And then later on, a week later, in like mid-February 2017, he decided to create like 2 more accounts to try to get back with me, even though I blocked his other like second account. And I got like really stressed out, and I started to get really upset over there and everything. And then I kept telling him like, no, I'm not interested in you, I don't want to talk to you, I do not want to be friends with you and everything. And unfortunately, this guy couldn't take no as an answer, and he says something like and then I kept telling him to leave me alone and everything, and he said, I will leave you alone if you let me be friends with you. I'm like, no, I don't want to be friends with you. And yeah, and I felt like he's not respecting my boundaries and everything. And then this happened like throughout like February 2017 through like April 2017. Yeah, this guy's been harassing me a lot, and then he's been trying to make new accounts to try to get back to me, like 80 accounts, even though I've been blocking in a lot of those accounts that he created. And I didn't have the audacity to tell my parents or like report it to the authorities, just because I was afraid. And I'm more afraid about what my parents think, because that time, like, I have a difficult time expressing my feelings, and I have a difficult time understanding that time my parents weren't having the emotional availability to be there for me throughout my mental health and throughout my personal life. So that's why I decided to not say anything and just ignore it like nothing had happened. But yeah. And then also, this guy found my mom's Facebook account and decided to message her and said, hi, Melanie's mom, can you tell your daughter to be nice to me? She's been rude to me and blah, blah, blah. And then my sister like found out about it, and then this Todd guy decided to message my younger sister on Facebook and try to harass her as well, and said hello. And then my sister ignored Todd's messages, and then he started like calling my sister a B word for not responding to his messages. And then luckily my sister blocked him, because again, this guy is harassing me, my sister, and my family as well. But thankfully, he stopped bothering me, even though I didn't report it. But again, I didn't report it just because, I didn't feel, emotionally supported by my parents that time. And that time, they were kind of like not as validating towards my mental health. And somehow I didn't report it to the authorities because I felt like they wouldn't do anything about it because honestly, because I was told that, the local police department in my area don't do anything about pedophiles or predators nowadays. So that's the hard part, honestly. So yeah, I decided not to say anything because like, my parents, response when they invalidate me, it started to hurt me emotionally. And it's hard for me not to worry what they think. So, but at the same time, it's really difficult because sometimes every little, hurtful words always kills my mood the whole day, even a few days. So that's why I didn't say anything. But yeah, thankfully this Todd guy stopped bothering me. And even though this guy has special needs, it doesn't give him the freedom to harass me and my family as well. And yeah, because, I learned that, even like people with autism, people who have intellectual disabilities can be pedophiles as well. And, sexual harassment or harassing someone or stalking someone is not an excuse at all. And having autism is not an excuse to like stalk people, harass people like that, because that's not okay. Because I know some autistic individuals out there are some creeps. So gotta be careful, honestly, you guys, because I think this Todd guy knows right from wrong. And the fact that he's not taking no as an answer is very psychotic. And the fact that he's trying to make numerous accounts, even though I try to block him, is very like insane. And the fact that he tried to harass me, my family and everything, it's just bad. But thankfully, I never heard from him again. But if I did hear from him again, I would definitely report him. And honestly, I think it's a little late because, that time my Instagram account with my conversation with him, I deleted it. So there's nothing I can do, unfortunately. But other than that, this is a lesson learned I ever knew. But now I know what to do if I'm dealing with a stalker and harasser. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. And I think for me, not just neurotypical people can be creeps, but especially people who have autism or other special needs. And again, having special needs or autism doesn't give you an excuse to stalk or harass people.